the last time I met you, we introduced a concept that the Chafetz Chaim Rabbi Yisrael Meir Kagan, who is the one who writes all about speech, where he explains that it's not good enough just to treat the symptom. If all you're doing is treating the symptom and you're not digging down to the depths of the problem, then you'll never be able to conquer this. You need to work out what is making these symptoms happen when you have an illness. And we listed 7 different things that cause a person to speak badly. And one of them was this need for joking, mockery. That's what we talked about last time. Today, I like to talk about a different one. And it's the first one on the list, which is in Hebrew, ka'as, which means anger. Many of us speak Lashon Hara out of anger. Somebody did something to me. How dare they do something to me? I'm going to speak badly about them. What a low life. How dare they speak to me that way? How dare they act to me that way? I'm guessing that everybody here has extremely annoying people in their life. If you don't, you either live with no interactions with other human beings, or you're an angel and other people's annoyances just don't bother you. It's going to be one of those two things. You're either a hobbit, a hermit, that's the word, a hermit living in a cave, or you're an angel. It's one of those two things. But for most of us normal people, we go through life surrounded by annoying people. And of course, if you're surrounded by annoying people, all you want to do is speak about them because maybe that helps you. Maybe it's goes beyond helping you, but So I want to talk about this today. I want to talk about anger, and I have to be completely honest because it's important when talking about character traits to be honest. It's a little bit embarrassing for me that this is something that I need to teach because I'm nowhere near conquering it. It is, I have to teach it because this is the topic and it's something that I'm trying to work on, but anger is definitely not something that I've conquered. So let's have this as a rather than me teaching other people, it's me sharing ideas that I try and use in my life. And sometimes it's helpful, and sometimes I still have a long journey still to go. The reason why I specifically want to talk about it this week is because for those of you who keep up with the cycle of the Torah reading that we do, we last week we were actually talking about this thing that's tremendously badly translated as leprosy. It wasn't leprosy, it was in Hebrew, it was tzara'a. So we don't have a real English translation. It sounds like it was a physical expression of an internal spiritual illness. Can you imagine how amazing it would be if every time you spoke, you said something wrong, a spot would appear on your skin that everybody could see? It would probably, I don't know if it would eradicate it completely, but it would definitely cut down on a lot of the struggles we have with speech. And what it probably was is that spirituality was so clear at that time that when a person internally with their spiritual side inside um, had an issue, it started being reflected on the skin outside. And then a person had to repent and change their ways, say sorry if they caused any harm to anybody or damage to anybody, um, and stop speaking badly. And then the spot went. That's what we talked about last week in our reading last week. This week is the actual verse where it says, "Don't go around as a gossiper. Don't go around speaking Lashon Hara. Don't go around speaking badly. And then soon after that, we're talking about Vayikra, Leviticus chapter 19. Soon after that, in that chapter, it says the following verse: Lotikom v'lotitoret b'nei amecha v'ahavta l'reacha kamocha ani Hashem, which, if I was to translate it, means, do not take revenge, nor bear a grudge against the people of your people. Love your fellow as yourself. I am God. Now, for us who have 613 commandments, which are actually way more than 613 if you break them down, but let's call it 613 categories. There are 3 commandments inside that verse. The first one is, do not take revenge. The second one is, do not bear a grudge. The third one is, love your fellow as yourself. For those of you who've grown up in Christianity, that one was probably stressed to you many, many, many times. It was one of the, perhaps they put it in somebody else's mouth as if somebody else said it. But it's clearly written in the Torah. And then after that third commandment, love your fellow as yourself, then there's a fourth thing, a statement, I am God. I've mentioned this to you before in a previous class, but I was taught by my teachers that whenever you have different things that are not necessarily connected, squashed into one verse, there must be a way that you can read that verse in one go, as one sentence, rather than as different broken bits. Okay? And that's logical because God doesn't make mistakes. And if this is how he told Moshe to write the Torah, clearly there's a reason that these things are together. So how does one read this verse in one go? And I think this is how you read it. Don't take revenge, nor bear a grudge. How? How's that possible? 2 things. Number 1, love your fellow as yourself. And number 2, I am God. And let's break all of this down. This is essentially the conclusion of the class. What I've just said is the conclusion of the class. But now I'm going to break it all down and we're going to see how it goes together. Let's first of all understand, what does it mean, don't take revenge? So the rabbis explain. Let's say, who should we use today? And can I use you? Is that okay? If I use you as an example, let's say one day I knock on your door and I say, please, can I borrow your shovel? And you look at me and you say, no, I'm not lending you my shovel. Okay. The next day, there's a knock on my door. I open the door. Who is it? It's you. It's you. You're there. So I say a little bit reluctantly, yes. Yes. What is it that you want? And you say, please, can I borrow your bucket? And I say, you want to borrow my bucket? Yesterday I asked to borrow your shovel and you said no, and now you're asking me to borrow my bucket? Of course I'm not going to lend you my bucket. That is called revenge. That is the definition that our sages give of revenge. According to the Torah, a Jewish person, yes, is not allowed to do that. And according to the heritage that you have received from your leaders, any aspect of interpersonal behavior, although you may not be commanded because you're not Jewish, is something that the Noachide, the B'nai Noach community should be trying to live up to, because it's a guideline. It's not a ritual. It's a guideline for good behavior. So for me, it's a commandment. For you, it's a guideline of good behavior. So what do you mean? You mean I can't? Yeah, that's right. You're not allowed. Now, we have to be clear about this. We're not doormats. Okay, we don't believe in turn the other cheek. We don't believe in that. Never says that in my Torah, turn the other cheek. Maybe in some other book, but not in mine. So let's be clear. What does it mean? If last time that Angelique borrowed my bucket, it came back with a hole in, it's not revenge to say, no, I'm not going to lend you my bucket. Why? Because I know that she doesn't know how to look after buckets when I lent her a bucket. Do you understand? That's not called revenge. That's called there are repercussions to certain behaviors, right? But if there's no problem with the way she looks after things that I lend her, the only reason I'm not lending to her is because she wouldn't lend to me. And there's nothing intrinsic in this particular situation that means I shouldn't be lending to her. The only reason is because of what she did to me yesterday. That is not allowed. That's called don't take revenge. That's the first commandment in the verse. The second commandment in the verse is don't bear a grudge. What does that mean? Well, in the same situation, day one, I come to Angelique and I say, can I borrow your shovel? She says no. The second day, there's a knock on my door. It's her. I open the door. I say, yeah. And she says, please, can I borrow your bucket? And I say, yesterday, I asked to borrow your shovel and you wouldn't let me have your shovel. And today you're asking me for my bucket. Do you know what? I'm going to lend you my bucket because I'm not a lowlife like you. That's called bearing a grudge. I'm not taking revenge. But you can see I'm storing it up. You can hear that I'm storing it up, right? By the way, even if I don't say that, but that's what's going on inside of me, that's called bearing a grudge. And according to the Torah, I'm not allowed to do that. And according to the heritage that you've received, this is something that you're also supposed to be living up to. I just want to be clear about one thing. In both situations, the way the cases are set up is that it's and the next day. Did you hear that? And the reason for that is because through the oral law that was passed down through the sages from generation to generation, it was explained that God doesn't expect us to be superhuman. In the moment, when somebody's behaving to you in a certain way, it will be superhuman to not react. And we're not superhuman, we're just human. God wants us to be unbelievable humans, but doesn't expect us to be superhuman. In that moment, it's too much. We have a tradition. Listen to this tradition. We have a tradition that when somebody is embarrassed in public or treated badly in public, and they manage to hold it in and not react in the moment, they are so unbelievably superhuman that they have the power to give a blessing that goes beyond nature. We have stories of people who were not able to have children, who saw somebody else not react when they were screamed at in their face, and that person managed to stay calm in the moment, rushed over to that person and said, please give me a blessing because you are superhuman. They gave them a blessing that they would be able to have a child, and 9 months later, they have a child. These are recorded modern day stories. Why? What gives somebody such a power? Very simply, this is a person who's going against nature. This is not human. This is something beyond humanity. And if a person can grab a moment of being a superhuman, a beyond nature human, well, then they have the power of blessings to go beyond what nature says. But that's not what's expected of us. That's like, wow. But what is expected of us? What is expected of us is to be unbelievable humans. And by the next day, I should have let go. And the question we have to ask is how? How is that? Gee, can you lend me a shovel? How is that possible? What, you 24 hours later you want me to give up on this? How is that possible? So as I said, the way you read the verse is like this. Don't take revenge. Don't bear a grudge. How? Two things. The first thing is love your fellow as yourself. Now, this is an independent commandment. It means that in the same way as I don't want to be harmed, I don't want to be embarrassed, I should go out of my way to try and make sure that somebody else isn't harmed or embarrassed. In the same way as respect is important to me, I should make sure that other people are respected in the same way as it's important to me. In the same way as I want my aims and goals to be fulfilled in life, I should also want the same for everybody else. Love your fellow as yourself. It doesn't mean communism. It doesn't mean that I have to split up all of my earnings equally so that I'm giving equally to everybody. It doesn't mean that. But what it does mean is that I would be truly overjoyed when somebody gets the job that I also applied for. Do you understand? Because I would be overjoyed if I got that job. And of course, when I was going for that job, I was fighting for it. And I was praying that I should get it, which by definition means, although I may not have said it, by definition means that he wouldn't get it. But when he got it, I would be as overjoyed for him that he got it as I would if I got it. High level of being. That's what that mitzvah means independently when it's alone. What's the context of that mitzvah, of that commandment, within the whole phrase, the whole sentence of the verse? So this is what I think it means. In the same way as I personally have a constant justification going on in my brain for my deficiencies, because that's how I live with myself. So give that to somebody else. I'll give you an example. I was 5 minutes late for this class. So I had an excuse. What was the excuse? The internet wasn't working. But if I was going to be completely honest, if I had planned better and set up earlier, I would have realized that there was an internet issue and I would have still been on time. But that's what we do. We create justifications. By the way, some of those justifications are actually legitimately good, but a lot of the time they're really not. They're just how we live with ourselves. That's how we cope with ourselves. We walk around with a certain level of cognitive dissonance, for those of you who know the phrase, which basically allows us to view ourselves well, to love ourselves. We do it when we the last time you were rude to somebody, okay? And again, it could be that there's an angel here in the virtual room, but think back. It may have been many years ago, but the last time you were rude to somebody, as you walked away, you probably had this feeling inside that I didn't really behave the way I should have done. And the way you dealt with that feeling, often subconsciously, but the way you dealt with that feeling was a ream of excuses going on. Yeah, but I didn't sleep well last night, so I was tired. And look what he did to me, and look what he said first. Yeah, we come up with this justification. Often the justifications are just not really good enough, but they're enough that we can live inside our skin. And that's okay. It's not okay if a person is never growing in life. It's not okay if a person lives on such a delusional level that they think they're perfect and everything that they do is fine. And all of their justifications are so great that they never, ever, ever take steps forward. That's not okay. But because it would be impossible for us to change every issue that we have in one go, every imperfection that we're carrying like this, because that would be impossible, the way we cope with life is by doing this for the ones that we're not ready yet to deal with. And that's okay, as long as we're still moving forwards on other things, or as long as at some point we'll live up to what we need to change. So, in the same way as you do that to yourself because you love yourself, do it to somebody else. Give them their justification. Do you know why Angelique didn't lend me her shovel? I don't know. It's always easier for me to give my own justification because I live inside myself. But in the same way as I always seem to have a justification, she probably does too. It could be she woke up on the wrong side. This is a British expression. Do you say this? Woke up on the wrong side of the bed, got out of bed on the wrong side. Yes. Could be she's just having a difficult day. It could be that nothing to do with me, but last time she lent a shovel to somebody else, yeah, then it came back a bit bent, and therefore she's decided she's not lending shovels anymore. Okay. There could be so many different reasons. It could be nothing to do with right now. It could be that she had a difficult childhood and her behaviors right now are just an expression of that. Could be that she's had a difficult day, a difficult week, a difficult month, difficult year, a difficult life. And I will never know what she's carrying. Or if you prefer me to say it in a different way, when somebody does something to you, 99% of the time it's got nothing to do with you. It's just to do with them. And that's it. And stop being so egotistical that you think that everything that happens to you is because of you. It never is. It's to do with them. By the way, even if they say it's to do with you, that's not true. I'll give you an example. Somebody comes along and screams in your face, and the reason they scream in your face, they tell you, is because of the way you treated them last week. They told you it's because of you. Yeah. But if they were completely well adjusted without carrying any baggage from their history or their day or whatever it happens to be, then do you know what they would have done? They would have come up to you gently and kindly and they would have said, listen, I'm sure you were carrying something that day when you spoke to me or treated me in that way. I want you to know that it was very, very, very upsetting for me. I don't judge you for it, but I don't accept it. Please don't do it again. And they would have said it nicely and calmly like that. But if they're coming and screaming in your face about it, that screaming in the face has got nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. It's irrelevant. All it's got to do with is them. Maybe that was the behavior that was modeled to them when they were a kid. Maybe something else. But give them their excuse. Give them their justification, even if it's not good enough, because you do it for yourself. So that's the first thing. Love your fellow as yourself. Understand that it's got nothing to do with you. And feel the calm that comes with that. There's the calm that comes with that. Of course, if you do have something to do with the whole situation, apologize for whatever input you do have, right? Apologize. but their reaction has got nothing to do with you. And feel the calm. In Hebrew, we call it menucha. It's like it's difficult to explain what that means. It's like a sitting on the beach with no sound and no noise, and just feeling the waves there, and just feeling that complete calmness and oneness with God's creation. And as I said right at the beginning, it's embarrassing for me to give this lesson because I really struggle with this. But there have been moments where I've been able to really tap in, where I've had godly thinking, and I've experienced that calm in the face of somebody treating me badly. And do you know what? There isn't much that compares to it. That's the first thing. But as I said, there's a fourth section to the verse. The fourth section is, I am God. Now, very nice. I know you're God. You're the one who's dictating all of this. Like, why have you put that there? And we have to understand that this is not a book written by man. I mean, yeah, okay. Moses was holding the quill, but this is not a book written by a human. Every single word there, every single letter has a meaning and a purpose. Why do I need that at the end of this verse? And I believe that the answer is this. Nothing happens in this world unless the creator and the director, same being, creator and director with capital C's and D's, has willed it. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. The grass grows because the creator willed it. The trees blossom because the creator willed it. There is a war because the creator willed it. There is peace because the creator willed it. What, you think Trump is in charge? Really? And the reality is that the outcome of somebody else's free choice only exists because the creator willed it. We get confused because we believe in something called free choice. We think that the outcome of that free choice is something that was decided by the one who had the free choice. But that's not true. Free choice only exists within the choice to do or not do that thing, to say or not say that thing, to think or not think that thing. That is where the free choice lives. But the outcome, the creator decides that. This is true in every situation. It is easier to see in some places than other. But I'll give you an example. There is a person who has decided to murder somebody else. 2 years ago, two terrorists took their guns into a particular neighborhood. Not 2 years ago. I think it was either last year, just before Passover, or the year before, just before Passover. Two terrorists took guns into a religious neighborhood here in Jerusalem. The neighborhood is called Techilet Mordechai. And they were ready with these guns, these machine guns loaded with lots of bullets, to take out as many people as possible as they were scurrying around to get ready for the Passover festival, the Pesach festival. And both of them, as they start trying to shoot, their guns are jammed. They tried to take out the bullets, put them back in again. Again, it was jammed. And nobody got hurt that day. Our free choice is only in our behavior. not in the outcome. Even if the bullet was to leave, who says it will hit the target? And even if it hits the target, who says it will cause damage? I don't know if any of you saw the photo of the book of Psalms that one of our soldiers had in his pocket over here, with a bullet caught inside that book of Psalms. Did you see that picture going around? In the end, he is in charge of everything, apart from the free choice of action. But the outcome, he is in charge. And for those of you who've grown up in Christianity, this is perhaps a harder thing to understand because it directly contradicts a central doctrine in Christianity, from what I understand. I mean, I've never studied in depth, but from what I understand. And that is that evil is because of the devil. Man sinned, it brought evil into the world, but that evil is outside the realm of the creator. And there is the force of good, which is the realm of God, and then there's a force of evil, which is the realm of the devil. Evil only exists because the devil has his tentacles or claws or whatever you want to call it inside this world. And eventually, at the end of time, there's going to be a battle between God and the devil. It's going to be called Armageddon. You'll correct me if I'm wrong about this. And eventually, God's going to win, and we're all going to say, wahoo. This is the doctrine that many of you will have grown up with. We strongly, strongly reject that doctrine. When we say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, hear, O Israel, the Lord is God, the Lord is one. Do you know what we mean by the Lord is one? We mean that there is literally nothing else outside of his power. He is one. Everything that looks bad, every outcome that looks bad was not decided by the devil. It was decided by him. And sometimes, by the way, I'll be honest with you, being Jewish with such a philosophy is difficult. I'm not saying this is easy, because sometimes when you look at something, when you look at such a devastating outcome, you think to yourself, I wish I had a devil to blame. It would be so much easier. But that's not what we believe. What we actually believe is this, that although it looks bad and it's extremely painful, it is right and good, even though we cannot see it. But there will come a time. There will come a time, as King David says in Psalms, then in the future, our mouths will be filled with laughter as we look back and we see all of these devastating tragedies and we say, wow, they were good too. There was goodness there as well. That was the way it was supposed to be. But yeah, in this pre-messianic time, before we actually understand everything, it's difficult. It is difficult. But we have this deep, strong belief that he controls everything. And everything ultimately is good. And he knows what's right in every situation. That does not, we've got to be careful here. That does not absolve somebody from behaving badly. They can't come along and say, well, one second. If nothing is ever going to happen, an outcome is never going to happen unless he wills it. So I can shoot the gun. Because if he doesn't will it, it won't cause any harm. And if he wills it, well, he wills it. So I'm just doing the will of God. You can't say that. And the reason why you can't say that is really simple. Because when God created the world, he gave humans the choice of doing good and bad. And he said, this isn't about outcome. This is not about outcome. I'm in charge of the outcome. This is only about your behavior. Are you going to choose to do good? Are you going to choose to do bad? And when you choose to do bad, I will view it. I've got to be careful here. If you choose to do bad, and this is something that you regularly do, right, rather than something you slipped up on, if you choose to do bad and the outcome didn't achieve, I will view it in this spiritual world as if you did it. But the outcome couldn't happen because I didn't will it. You so wanted it, that's on your slate. These are deep philosophical concepts, but let's just apply them to what we're talking about here. If somebody does something to you that upsets you, they scream in your face, they don't lend you their shovel, whatever it happens to be, yeah? What we need to think to ourselves is, there was a reason for this, and it actually has nothing to do with that person. It's because God wanted this outcome. And if God wanted this outcome, there must be a reason for that. So what's expected of me in this situation? Or perhaps if I could say it in a different way, how can I grow as a human being through this situation? Because nothing happens for no reason. Now, again, I will repeat what I said before. I'm not sitting here saying that this is how I live my life. I wish that I had the calm that comes with living your life on this level. I wish. But there have been occasions in my life where I've grabbed it. I'll give you one example. I'd gone to the synagogue. There are I don't know, I have no idea what you know. There are certain synagogues that have set times for prayers. And then there are synagogues which I would call I don't know what you'd call them, emergency synagogues, where you miss the normal prayer time. Remember, we're supposed to be praying 3 times a day. Yeah. You miss the normal prayer time, so you can sort of get another time because they constantly, this is the place that everybody goes to because there's like repeatable services and you can just sort of jump on, you can hop on one. So I was in a particular synagogue in London, and this place has a service in the evening every 20 minutes. Okay. Now you're only supposed to do it once. The point is that if you haven't done it yet, you can hop onto this service, right? I'd finished a particular one. I think it was like the 10:40 service, right? So it's coming up to 11 o'clock. I finished. Somebody comes up to me at the end of the service. He comes up. I didn't know this person, hadn't met him before. He comes up to me and he says, "When's the last service?" And I said, "I think it's this one coming now at 11 o'clock." And he suddenly flipped. He went, "What are you talking about? Why are you lying to me? This was the last service. This one." So in the moment, I I was like so shocked by this. I said, why are you shouting at me? And he harumphed. He went, and then he walked off. Now, this was quite an embarrassing moment. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation like this. If you're in public and somebody screams in your face, other people are watching. They immediately assume, what did you do to them to make them scream at you, right? They want to know what caused this. So it's quite embarrassing. Everybody's turning around. But in that moment, I had some clarity. I was given some clarity as a gift, I think. And the first thing that was absolutely clear to me is this person isn't well. Meaning, I can give them their justification. Clearly, they've got a justification. The justification is, through no fault of their own, the way God created them, there's something not quite right there, because I hadn't lied to him. He'd asked me a question. If he knows, also, if he knows the answer already, why is he asking me the question, right? So clearly there's something not right. So I can give him his excuse. I can give him his justification. It's got nothing to do with me. It's to do with whatever he's carrying. And actually, in that situation, that was easier because it was literally on display. Sometimes it's harder because you don't know what the justification is. But as he was walking away, I thought to myself, but God's in charge of the world. He could have distracted this guy so he didn't come and ask me the question. He could have made me go to a different service. He could have made somebody else walk past at that moment. And do you understand? God's in charge of this world. And if God wanted me to be shouted at in that moment, there must be a reason. And if there's a reason, what can I learn from it? How can I grow from it? And you should know it's nobody else's business to tell me how I should grow from my experiences. Don't go around lecturing anybody else. But I'll tell you what I took from that moment. The guy had screamed in my face, "You're a liar. Why did you lie?" So as I was walking away, I was thinking to myself, yeah, I didn't lie and I didn't do anything wrong. And I was only trying to help. And this has got nothing to do with me. But God runs the world. He wanted me to be shouted at in that moment. And he wanted those very words to be said to me. See, if that's the case, what does he want from me? So I'll tell you what I took. I took from it that he was saying to me, Menachem, you need to be a bit more truthful. Again, I hadn't lied. I hadn't done anything wrong. But God was speaking to me. I'd be a fool not to at least turn my ears to listen. So why would I be angry with this guy? Number one, he's carrying something. And number two, it's got nothing to do with him, really. It's to do with God and whatever message he wants me to take. I want to end on this particular point here. The truth is that if we were great enough, we would be able to apply these two techniques to even the greatest of things that people do to other people. And in fact, if anybody knows anything about trauma therapy, these two concepts are often mentioned in trauma therapy for serious trauma. The first thing that they will say to somebody who's been through trauma is, it's not your fault. It's got nothing to do with you. It's to do with the other person. Whatever is wrong with them or whatever they're carrying, nothing to do with you. Let go of it. It's nothing to do with you. And the second thing they say in trauma therapy, I mean, unless they're a very religious person, they don't talk about God, but they say it in a different way. They say, this happened in the past. What goodness are you going to bring into the world through it? How are you going to build yourself through it? Or how are you going to change the world through it? Because you were chosen for something. And that's why you see people who go through very, very, very difficult things building unbelievable stuff. It's the most amazing thing. You see them building things, building homes for people who were attacked, abused. Somebody has in Israel here, there was a person who had a severely learning disabled child, and she built he and his family built a whole massive center for people like that because he heard the call and he said, okay, I hear you speaking to me. Again, they don't necessarily mention the word God. They talk about it in, okay, this happened in the past, and how are you going to bring goodness through it? Okay. But we have to be honest and say that with extreme trauma and with very, very difficult things, we most of us do not have the ability to do that process by ourselves. We need a professional to take us through that process. But that doesn't mean that we can't use these two processes that it says in the verse to deal with the more minor annoyances in life. So let's try and apply that. Next time somebody does something to you and you're feeling that rage, you don't need to go and badmouth them to everybody else. What you need to do is you need to spend time focusing through these things. And by the way, if a person has spent time trying to work these through and it's not good enough, they are allowed to speak it out with somebody. If you remember, we talked about conditions to be able to say something for a good purpose. Those conditions would apply here. Saying something for a good purpose doesn't just mean saving somebody else. It can mean helping your own emotional well-being. That's what therapy is, but it doesn't necessarily have to be with a therapist. It can be with a mentor, with a good friend, and a person would need to fulfill the conditions that come with that to make sure it's really being done for a good purpose. Like we talked in a previous class, I think it was in our third class together. But the vast majority of the time when people are venting and ranting and raving, they've given absolutely no effort to try and process it themselves. So, in summary, we're not supposed to be taking revenge or bearing a grudge. How is that possible? Two things. The first thing is, in the same way as you love yourself and therefore you give yourself your justifications, however weak they may be. So do the same thing for somebody else. Give them the justifications, whether you can see them or not, and whether they're good enough. And number two, God runs the world. There is a message that he's trying to speak to you. He is speaking to you. Try and understand the message. It's not always that clear. What does he want? I found at times that when I turn to when something happens to me and I don't understand the message, I'll speak to a mentor, not so that the mentor can dictate to me what the message is, but just so that the mentor can perhaps help me past my own internal resistance from hearing the message. So it's good to have a good mentor to turn to who can help you see inside yourself truthfully. But there we go. Again, this is not me lecturing to you. This is me talking about the struggles that I have in my life and the things I try and apply to help me grow.